we're so grateful to have Willa Taylor and Michael Rohd here with us today. They both are with Sojourn Theatre, but Willa is actually the director of engagement at the Goodman Theatre here, close to me in Chicago, and Michael is at Arizona State, where he teaches and is a lead artist in the civic. What is it?
No, don't even try. When we get to me,
Okay.
all messed up already. Don't worry.
Fair enough. They actually lead a summer training intensive for those of you who are interested in how to bring activism into your curriculum. I took the training this summer. I'm going to take it again next summer. I had such a beautiful time in there. So I will definitely be providing links and whatnot to the network as we get closer to those dates. But I'll turn it over to you two. Please take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Hey, everyone. It's really nice to see everybody. I'm Michael. There's Willa, and she invited me to start. Couple good friends here. I got to shout out Johnny Stallings is here. And Johnny, I have had a couple of the most inspirational theater experiences I've ever had watching Johnny work in correctional facilities, one in particular. So Johnny, it's very nice to see your face. We're going to...
Likewise, Michael. Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you. Hey, so with a group this size, we only have an hour together. And of course, we want to, get to have some experience together. But we should probably take time and just do quick intros around. And then Willa and I will maybe set up and start with some acknowledgements and some things that we'd like to say. But maybe we could begin with a quick go around. It's the 10-second version. I'm Michael. I'm in Phoenix. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a theater maker. Your version of who and where and preferred pronouns if you like. And that'll be me. And Willa, I'll pass right to you. We can pass around and we'll just move around it.
I'm Willa. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am in Chicago. As Scott said, I work at the Goodman Theatre. So administrator by day, but storyteller by night. I feel like storytelling and teaching storytelling is really where my passion lies.
Hey y'all, Scott Jackson, co-founder of the Shakespeare in Prisons Network here. I use he, they pronouns and come to you from near the shores of Lake Michigan, the homelands of the Pokagon Band, of the Potawatomi, the Miami, and the Peoria.
Curt Tofteland, I'm the founder of Shakespeare Behind Bars, co-founder of the Shakespeare in Prison Conference. He, him, his. I put my ancestral lands in the chat.
Hi, I'm Frannie Shepherd-Bates, coming to you from outside Detroit, Michigan. She, her, hers. I'm the director of Shakespeare in Prison and mother of a rambunctious 7-year-old.
Hey, I'm Kate Kenney. I'm coming to you. I'm you, she, her. I'm coming to you today from the North Fork of Long Island, which was the home of the Korchog tribe. And I work in facilities in New York State.
Hey, Kate Kenney, thank you. Kate Powers, she, her pronouns. My land acknowledgement is in the chat. I have worked at 4 prisons in New York State, sometimes with Kate Kenney, and 2 prisons in Minnesota. Thank you.
Karen Ann Daniels. I use the She series. I am currently in present day San Diego, which is the land of the Kumeyaay Indian. I work at the Public Theater as the director of the mobile unit. Just launched a program in corrections during COVID. Yay, us.
Hi, everyone. Hilary Dennis, she, her, hers. I'm zooming in from Northampton, Massachusetts, which is the land of the Nipmuc Indians. And I'm representing Elsewhere Shakespeare Company in Richmond.
Thank you, Hilary. My name's Carla Grant, coming from Portland, Oregon, land of the Cowlitz people. I am attempting to fill Johnny Stallings' shoes as the new executive director of OHAM.
Yeah, OHAM stands for Open Hearts, Open Minds, and we started doing theater in Oregon prisons, mostly Shakespeare. I'm on the same sacred land as Carla, the land of the Chinookan peoples. He, him, his.
Hi everyone, I am Prabu and I am on the board of Open Hearts, Open Minds, the same organization that Johnny founded and Carla is the executive director now. And By day, I'm an engineer, but I'm also a writer, and I'm studying Shakespeare right now. And I am hoping to become a director one day.
Hi everyone, Melinda Cooper here. Sorry, my camera's off. I'm chasing a toddler around a yard right now. I'll come back on as soon as I can. I posted my land acknowledgement in the chat. I'm coming to you from the ancestral land of the Kumeyaay tribe in what the colonizers have called San Diego, California. She, her, hers, pronouns please. I'm the co-producer of the Shakespeare in Prisons conference, along with Scott and Curt and Karen Ann, who are also on this call. Hi guys. Thank you all so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm JoJo, she, her. I am currently in Brooklyn, New York. What else? I'm an actor and a theater educator, and I'm happy to be here.
I am Celeste, she, her, hers, coming to you from New Orleans, the ancestral lands of the Chitimacha and Choctaw tribes. And I am an actor, director, writer, primarily, I think.
Hi, I'm Karen Davis. I am coming to you from outside Chicago on the Illinois side. And I teach philosophy, and not that long ago, I did a dissertation on aesthetics and Shakespeare behind bars in Kentucky.
Hello all, she, her. I'm in Manhattan and always look forward to these conferences. Actor, theater director.
Great.
Hi, I'm Rachel, she, her, hers. I'm coming to you from Pomona, California. I put the ancestral lands in the chat there. I work with the Prison Education Project out here in Southern California.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? My mic's been a bit weird. Awesome. Hi, I'm Laura. I not long ago finished my PhD, which was about a prison Shakespeare program that you'll all know pretty well. And it was lifting up the voices of incarcerated people, engaging in that work and telling their story. Letting them tell their story actually through my research.
Hi, I'm Elisha, and you can call me Ellie. She, her, hers, and I'm on the lands of the Salish Kootenai people, Missoula, Montana, and I'm a theater student.
Hello. I'm glad to be here and hear you. Yes, I am actor and theater director, and I am working in the main prison of Greece. We have a performance about Shakespeare's Tempest in 2017, and will be continue now with the persons of us Aeschylus. We have worked also with Chekhov, Ward, number 6, and Glengarry Glen Rose by David Mamet.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I lived in Greece for 9 years, so I love that country. So we'll have to talk offline.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that everybody's here today, Michael, and I love doing this work and love doing this work with people who want to really make a difference in the world, which of course all of you are. Before we start, I want just to recognize these beautiful words from Adrienne Wong from Spiderweb Show in Ontario, who has graciously shared this digital land acknowledgement with us. Since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technology, structure, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affects indigenous peoples worldwide. I invite you to join me in acknowledging all of this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike. Did you say Mike? I did. It's the first time I've ever called you that.
Yes. Yes, that
It's
was
so
very
weird to say.
It was very startling to me, as if my mother was suddenly in the Zoom room. Very strange. Well, in addition to that acknowledgement, another thing that's really important for us to start with is to acknowledge the past year, but not just the past year, the history that we all sort of swim in, which has become ever more legible for many, but does not need any new legibility for many others. Yes, we've been in a social justice uprising, in a systemic racism reckoning. Our institutions and our systems and our interpersonal interactions affected maybe as they haven't been before. And just want to acknowledge in particular lives lost since last summer, beginning with George Floyd, but certainly not beginning with George Floyd. Black lives lost to police brutality and to state-sanctioned violence, and to acknowledge that, hello, friend Diana. Hi, Diana. And to acknowledge that here we are working in the context of prison populations, which of course hugely disproportionately impacts BIPOC lives in our nation and in the world. So wanting to take a moment as we start to just have a pause and a breath for lives lost and the disproportionate effect of our justice system and the injustice rampant throughout it as we begin our work together today. So I'll pause for a moment. Thank you for that breath. I want to say we have 42 minutes together right now, and our goal is to share sort of a sequence, some prompts, and some activity that borrows a bit from devising and is looking at how the work of Shakespeare might intersect with some of the themes that maybe we are all interested in exploring in the world. And our hope is that it's a sequence that's useful for you outside of the space beyond our time together, but also that it's an opportunity to just be in some conversation together. And Willa, maybe I'll give the very first prompt, the chat one, and then turn over to you as we send them off into groups.
That'd be great.
So we're going to start all together here, and then you're going to go into breakout groups that you're going to be with through a few things before we finally come back and share a little bit. The very first thing we want to do, just to extend the introductory moments of sort of what we're doing here, is I just want to ask you, how are you currently working with or preparing to work with Shakespeare in prison settings and or with prison populations? Yeah. So how are you working with or preparing to work with Shakespeare in prison settings and or with prison populations or re-entry contexts? Yeah, wherever that work is. And just asking for a couple sentences. Yeah, I'm just going to give you a minute where I'm going to stop talking and invite you to put that in the chat. So this is typing. Take a moment, a minute, minute and a half tops, type in whatever you like. And then I promise we'll have a minute to scroll through and read each other's stuff before we move forward. If we had a day together, we would go around the circle and share. But right now, we're just going to use the chat as a collective journal. Okay, I'm going to ask to hit your last keystroke, to hit return for the last time. You probably know this, but as an access issue, I'm going to ask us to stop typing and hitting return, because for some folks, once we start reading, if the scroll on Zoom is still moving, it actually is quite disorienting for some folks. So as an act of inclusivity, I'll ask you not to hit enter anymore for the next minute or two. And go back up to the top, starts right around Johnny at 121. So go up to 121 and take a minute and read. I'm very grateful that folks shared this. It gives us an incredible snapshot of kind of the experience and also the pursuits in the space.
Yeah. Now, we don't have a lot of time, but we want to really engage in some deep conversation. So we're going to break you into smaller groups of about 3 or 4 people each. And we're going to give you 3 prompts for your time in the groups. And we'll put them, of course, in the chat so you can remember them. But we want to start with, what does Shakespeare have to say through his plays about this year in American history? So think about what you know of Shakespeare. Think about the plays that you know, and what plays of his resonate with you with this particular moment in history. That's the first prompt. Then we'll have 2 more. Scott is going to zoom you off into smaller rooms. We'll put the 3 in the chat, and then Michael and I will come around to talk with you each and just check in to make sure. If there are any questions right now before we go into the smaller groups, let me know.
Hey, Willa, a reminder, we actually, once they leave, can't put it in the chat for them to read. So what we might do is have Scott bring them back, give them the next prompt, and send them back.
Yeah,
so that way they can go one prompt
we
at a
can
time.
broadcast it. So we can broadcast it and they'll see each of the prompts.
We can. We'll broadcast you the second prompt in 4 minutes.
Yep. So you'll have 3 minutes for this first question. What does Shakespeare have to say through his plays about this past year in history? So travel well, travel safe. You don't need a mask for this.
And accept your invitations.
Yeah, so we brought you all back because we know that the second prompt is a little bit complicated and we need you to do some research. So we're going to give you 5 minutes. We want you together as a group to find a headline from recent news online that feels Shakespearean to you, and possibly is related to the work that you do with prison populations. So the task is really to find that headline. Scott has made all of you co-hosts so you can share your screens when we come back. But for now, you're going to go back into your rooms. You'll have 5 minutes to do the research, and you'll decide on one headline as a group that feels Shakespearean to you and is possibly related to the work that you're doing in prisons right now. Is that clear? And then we will broadcast the next part of that while you're in the rooms. Okay? All right.
I'm almost there. Just 1 second, making everybody co-host.
It takes a little bit of time to like move people around in
this might, it does. It might be evident, but you might want to just choose one of you, share screen, and then together scroll through headlines as opposed to all doing it independently.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you for being willing to accept the silliness of working that quickly. And hopefully you were able to get just some ideas out and just kind of talk about stuff. Karen Ann, you love working fast, right? Just fast. Just fast. So we're grateful for that. And there's one more thing that we want to invite you to do now with the moment that you chose, from a play that you chose, from a headline that you chose. And this is, we're going to ask you to practice on a very short clock, a little devising. And what we mean when we say devising in this context is we're just talking about collaboratively imagining something together that did not start with a text you were trying to stage or interpret, but rather an idea or impulse that you could generatively create from. And that is sort of what we are, I guess, offering today in this workshop, is sort of thinking about that nugget, the generative collective process, which we are sure all of you use in different ways already. So we're just offering one way to think about a simple bridge from the contemporary world, the headline, through Shakespeare's plays, text, world, into what we're going to ask you to do right now. It's just as an exercise. So here's the prompt. We're going to send you back into that room, and we're going to ask you to come up with the plot of a short scene that has characters from the play you chose in the moment you chose interacting in today's world, and the title of the new Shakespeare play set in the US in the early 21st century that scene takes place in. So whatever nugget you sort of got, you went headline to play to moment. Now you got to go, how do we drop that moment in the 21st century? What's happening in that scene? Is it a comic scene? Is it a dramatic scene? What's happening there? And what's the title of the play? You no longer have to call it Richard III. You can call it whatever you want.
Right. And I will just, sorry, Michael.
Please.
I will just add that devising is something, especially if you're working with students, that students take to in ways that are magnificent, because it gives them ownership of the material. And they have to know the material in the way that we are asking you to sort of interrogate it. They have to know the material. So it's also an assessment tool for those of you who are teaching in classrooms to see what students know. And it doesn't just have to be Shakespeare, it works across any text. And sorry about that. My new puppy is in the cage for the first time. So
Willa Taylor having a new puppy is a good thing for the world. So
yeah,
it's good. It's good. The one thing I'd offer is, if we were taking more time together or in a longer process together, especially in the context that some of you work in, we would do work on building the capacity of the participants to collaborate, right? We would not begin with an assumption that everybody was ready to jump in and author together. Right. We know that there'd be all kinds of things to work on around power dynamics and leadership and decision making. And we're not working on that today in this time span, but it would happen between what we've done so far and before we asked a group to do what you're about to do. Possibly even before asking you what you've already done, just in making those choices, but certainly before we asked you to be generative together.
Yeah.
But right now, Scott's gonna invite you back to your rooms, same rooms. We're gonna give you about 9 minutes to come up with an idea. That's like a lot of time given how today's been going.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, we're just gonna, in the chat, just kind of hear a little bit about what we've been doing. 9 minutes are yours. So we wanna be very respectful of everyone's time. So maybe the first thing to do is just ask everybody to pop in the chat, just sort of the name of the play, and sort of like a sentence about the scene that you imagined. That way, at least we can start by seeing what folks are thinking about.
I'm really looking forward to these, because I popped into a couple of rooms and the conversation was incredibly interesting.
Yeah. And I mean the name of the play that you gave. You don't have to necessarily give the original. You can, but you don't have to. Wishing that we had a little more time, but just say that in the next set of minutes, if we had them, what we would obviously do is talk a little bit about each one. And we would also talk about sort of what kind of generative or devising practices one could use to start playing with these ideas with groups. But for now, we were hoping to just kind of go from a headline, thoughts about Shakespeare in today's world, to something that might be a fun starting point. And these are very fun starting points.
Yeah.
Willa, do you want to offer any, as we get to closing here, any thoughts sort of on how this work, has been meaningful for you in all these different community settings?
Part of what I love about devised work is watching people take ownership of the material. It is so very different than when they sort of embody a character, when they haven't created that character. It is wonderful, and it gives them a level of authority, or they take a level of authority that is unlike anything that I've seen, and it works across the spectrum. We have done this with kids as young as 10, and with our adults in generation, the oldest person is 92. And it has worked across all of those. I know some of the difficulties, of course, that you face, or that you are in very regimented environments often when you're working in prisons. And what you can and cannot discuss sometimes is regulated and policed. But it is an interesting way of sort of coming at the material. And it really does allow any of the participants to really see it in a new way and see the relationship of Shakespeare to their own lives.
We should close up because you all have private places to be. But can we put our emails in here?
Yes.
So here comes mine. If anybody wants to connect about this work, if you're just like, hey, can we do a 15-minute follow-up call? Just talk about this a little bit more or something. Please just reach out.
Yeah, please.
And happy to connect individually or as a group. And watch online or through Scott for our summer institutes, which we'll do again this summer, virtually, if not live, probably both, on teaching artistry and devising. So
perfect.
Any questions as we sort of wind up for us? Thank you so much for taking this time to be with us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you both. It's just always a pleasure and an honor to sit with you both. And I can't thank you enough for being here with us today. So